Everything is Black and White podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Musgrove, and it's time for our afternoon update on what is transfer deadline day. We've just hit record there. It's just gone 22 minutes past 4, so bear in mind anything you may listen to later on the podcast. Things may have changed, and if you listen to this after the deadline closes, well, it'll be a little bit out of date. But for now, for those watching live, I'm joined by Chief Sports Writer Lee Ryder. And Lee, it's nice to be busy and positive for a change on transfer deadline day. Usually in this situation, we've been used to not really having anything to write about, at least positively anyway. Plenty going on today. We'll start with the big news. And I think that for many people is the latest with Jesse Lingard. The deal looked like it was off. It's back on the table now in certain elements. Can you just share your latest understanding on what is happening there?
Yeah, I think it's one Newcastle are still pushing for. Obviously, with it being one that's based in the UK, then it gives them a good chance. We've got 6.5 hours left. Plus, you can also apply for extra time as well later on if needed with the deal sheet. So they're trying to get it back on. Man United are playing hardball with the asking for big fees, really astronomical fees for a player that would be on loan. So that's probably the potential stumbling block. But obviously, Man United have done other business in terms of outgoing loans, so it's still active. They're still engaged in conversation. Newcastle still hope it can happen.
They've got West Ham for company, and obviously Lingard went to West Ham last season on loan and made an instant impact. But we've seen Newcastle sign Bruno Guimarães, and he was linked to a heck of a lot of clubs, two big clubs, in particular Arsenal and Juventus, and they've got him through the door. How big of a signing would it be if they persuade Lingard that a January move to Tyneside is right for him over one down to West Ham?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've seen a few people saying it'll be, sort of putting the final touches to what's been a great window. For me, with or without this signing, I still think it's been a great window, especially if they get Dan Burn through the door, which he's obviously at the training ground as we speak. Matt Targett's coming in on loan. So then you throw in Bruno, Kieran Trippier, quality established England national, Chris Wood's come in. It's already been a good window. It looks like it's going to end positively. Lingard, that would just take it up that little extra notch. But yeah, it's one where I think if Newcastle fans get him, I think that they'll be pretty excited by that one. Obviously, Dele Alli now going to Everton. That was one Newcastle, held discussions about, but it was good. It was probably going to be one or the other, and obviously they've gone for Lingard on the last day, and Dele Alli looks like he's going to Everton now. So, and that looks like a great deal as well, to be honest, from where I'm standing. So, there's probably part of me feels a little bit disappointed that he didn't come to Newcastle, but no, you can't have it all, and we're certainly not used to dealing with 4 or 5 players coming through the door, as you say.
Now, this morning, it looked like Newcastle were making waves when it came to Hugo Ekitike from Reims. It now looks like that deal has gone, and maybe it's one to revisit in the summer. What is your latest understanding on that one?
Well, I'm almost like not one for completely putting the death knell on something with this amount of time left in the window. I mean, I know that the reports in France are suggesting that he's changed his mind, that sort of thing. And it was last night that he was unsure about it. But for me, and I think the fans will know this, that deals like this, when they get held up, it's usually only for one reason, and it's financial reasons. And I think I think the package is a huge one. Is he asking for too much money? There should be no reason why he shouldn't want it to come to the Premier League. Maybe the relegation thing is in the back of his mind. Maybe he's had assurances from other clubs in the summer that might want to come in and get him. But top marks to Newcastle again for trying to sign a player that, not my words, the French football experts believe he is the next Mbappe. So that's their quote, not mine. But look, he looks like an exciting talent. At least they're engaged in conversation. But at the minute, the noises from France or that that one's been put on ice for now.
There's a bit of debate going on in the comments, Lee, about Newcastle's need for a striker. That's the opinion of some. Others are saying they don't need a striker. If indeed the deadline comes and they've only signed Chris Wood, what would your opinion be? Have they got enough firepower? Do they get to, the moment where Callum Wilson's back and then we'll see things pick up? What's your view on the forward line?
Yeah, I mean, for me, that wasn't a huge problem. I think we all went into this transfer window knowing the defence needed to be improved. It needed more solidity. Looks like we're going to emerge with pretty much a new defence, pretty much a new back four. If Eddie Howe decides to play back four, it's 3 from 4 positions are going to be filled. So that's where Newcastle needed to improve. I've seen so many different comments from people who aren't mega excited about Dan Burn coming in, but if there's a player that can get a job done in the Premier League at the back, then it's him. I think looking at the clips of him, just when attackers think they've got away from him, he kind of just hooks his foot around them, when they're not least expecting it. So look, the players that have come in now are the trying to get Newcastle to the next stage, which is staying up. Can't take anything away from the players that are already there because they've kept Newcastle up in the last few seasons, so they've got bags of experience in doing that. But it does look like the squad is potentially going to be trimmed, but moving these players out will not be easy, and the clock is ticking.
It's going to be great to see so much competition. Let's say, we expect Dan Burn to sign and then we expect Matt Target to sign. So you've got competition at left back, you've got competition at centre back now. Federico Fernandez returning to fitness as well. So Eddie Howe's going to have a lot of choice, a lot of players to choose from, in some really important games coming up. So that can only be a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I've seen someone saying that the squad was stood at 30 or 31 players at the minute. That means there's going to be some potential disappointment behind the scenes. Someone's not going to get a squad space, and it's not as easy just to say you're going. You've been traded. It doesn't quite work from that. So it's going to be interesting to see that final squad list announced. And for Eddie Howe, I'm sure there's players that he would like to keep interested, but unfortunately, it looks like some of them are going to be potentially non-playing squad members. But there's still time for business to be done, and we could be talking about a host of outgoings later on. Freddie Woodman's the one we know about at the minute. I know Elliot Anderson is in talks to go out as well. But then there's the interesting thing about Matty Longstaff, because of his age. He doesn't count as one of the sort of 25, so he might get an opportunity to stay. We'll have to wait and see.
In terms of Lingard coming in, if he does indeed come in, that presents again a positive dilemma, I guess, for Eddie Howe. You've got the likes of Anson Maximin, you've got the Ryan Fraser. These players all vying for first team positions. I assume if Lingard did come in, there'd be probably some sort of, again, just my assumption, some sort of guarantee of first team football. So again, it makes Eddie Howe's choices going forward really, really interesting.
Yeah, it does. I think he wanted competition for places. He's certainly got that now. I mean, at one point when the COVID was ripping through the squad, I think the team picked itself. The Southampton game, that would be a collector's item if anyone could get hold of it. The Southampton team sheet, I believe, had 3 or 4 youngsters on it and 2 subs or something like that. So they've gone from a position where they didn't have much option to potentially, leaving a host of players disappointed. So it's good news for the manager, I suppose.
Yeah, 100%. You mentioned potential outgoings. Jeff Hendrick being linked to Middlesbrough. Is he one of the players you could see potentially leaving before the deadline?
Well, the thing with Jeff Hendrick is he could turn around Eddie Howe and he could argue, you haven't given me a chance here. You have not given me one opportunity. I think he might have got on as a substitute against Man City. It's going to be incredibly difficult for him to force his way into the midfield. I'm sure you're like me. You've probably been sitting down trying to write your midfield down for the next game against Everton. And who who misses out, who's the one who's going to be on the bench for that one. So look, it's going to be interesting. Jeff Hendrick's certainly one you would say, looking from afar, that potentially surplus to requirements. I've seen him linked with Middlesbrough, but nothing at the moment that I've got to share on that. But we'll see. I think there's probably a couple of them, isn't there, that you could say have still got a chance to be loaned out, going in this last few hours of the window.
And in terms of Matt Target, as you mentioned, they're him and Dan Burn at the training ground, completing the various tests needed for their medical. Are you surprised that Aston Villa have let him go? Because, it was only last season he was named player of the season. He had a really good start to his career at Villa. Yes, they've gone out and bought Digne from Everton, but I'm a little bit surprised that they've let him go, and whether it's come from him and he said, "Look, I want to go play first team football." I don't know, but it's a good signing for Newcastle, I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it could be when the dust settles, you could be looking at that one as potentially, I know it's a loan, but one of the steals of deadline day, because this is a guy who's played at England under 21 level. I think his last transfer was like 15 million quid, which is quite pricey for a left back. And as you say, it is a quality signing, and one where Newcastle, can add real strength now to that left-hand side, because with him coming in at potentially left back, Dan Burner left-sided centre-back, it just strengthens him on that side. And, maybe that's an area where Eddie Howe felt was weak, and, he needed to improve it. But it throws up a lot of questions in terms of selection for others.
Yeah, like we say, that can only be positive. Obviously, Bruno Guimarães signed on Sunday, and just another really good signing for Newcastle United. As we've mentioned earlier, lots of sides wanted him. Just how big of a difference do you think he's going to make? From now on, since he's joined.
Just a huge signing that. I think most of Newcastle probably treated themselves, broke the dry January rule to celebrate that one last night. It was some deal. And I was looking last night, and I've seen a lot of these lists where the top 20 defensive midfielders in the world, and he's on it. So that's what Newcastle have got. One of the top class players who has his own marketing team. This guy's the real deal, and he's going to really improve Newcastle's midfield. And yeah, that's one I'm really excited about. It's probably up there with top 15 marquee signings Newcastle have ever made, I would say. And I think the fans will be really excited to see him in action.
100%. And just on Jamal Lewis, a lot of people claiming, or a few people claim that he could head out on loan, but that would leave Newcastle probably short in that position. What do you think the future holds for him?
Yeah, I mean, in the transfer window, there's always going to be winners and losers. I'm gutted if he did. He has to leave on loan, because I do think he is a class player. I know he's had his critics, but unbelievably quick. Hasn't really had a good run in the team. Got picked up an injury, unfortunately, and I think having spoke to him last year when he signed. I thought he was a really good lad, good character. Really, really knew what it meant to be signing for Newcastle. Obviously, could have went to Liverpool not that long ago. So, yeah, I'm probably a bit disappointed if he's one of the ones who doesn't get a squad place. And yeah, it's disappointing, but hopefully it's not the end for him.
Fingers crossed. And just the penultimate question before we wrap up, Lee, what's the day like been for you? Because as we mentioned at the start, we're used to being a bit quiet, and this is a totally different contrast to how it's been in previous years. So what's it been like for you today?
Yeah, it's been exciting. It's we me and you are usually spending the day, dismissing names, and checking these names out and putting them to agents and clubs, and normally having to put a cross next to them. But on this occasion, we're putting ticks next to them. So it's been an exciting day so far. I mean, obviously, not in the office this year. We usually get the pizzas delivered and stuff like that. So we haven't had that this year. but it's been a massively exciting day, and the most important thing is Newcastle got players coming through the door, and we've really got no excuses now not to stay up in the last 17 games.
Fingers crossed, and obviously, hopefully, we'll get you back on later, Lee. But how do you see the rest of the transfer window going for Newcastle United then?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously Dan Burn in the process of his medal at the moment, Matt Targett coming in, and then there's obviously the live matter of Lingard and whether that can be done, and whether Man United can be satisfied with what's on the table for him. But I don't know. I'm always wary on deadline day that there's always a surprise one that some people might never see, and maybe they've got a couple of other irons in the fire. So it's going to be worth hanging around until the actual deadline itself.
100%. And we'll bring you all the latest over on chroniclelive.co.uk, where our live transfer deadline day blog is up and running, and we'll be running well past the deadline as well. You can sign up for Lee's exclusive newsletter as well. The details are all in the comments there, where Lee will send you his latest up-to-date thoughts. It's direct to your email box. And please remember to like and subscribe to the podcast as well. For now, Lee, thanks for joining us on the Everything is Black and White podcast. You guys watching and listening, thanks as always, and head over to Chronicle Live